Hey guys, Mapletail here. Welcome back to Rants and Draws, the series where I give my first impressions on Warrior Cat's book previews, and, well, draw, as usual. Today we're having a look at the preview for Chasing Shadows, and for the drawing, I was just gonna use one of my backlog speed paints, but this arc is really reigniting my love for drawing Warriors fan art. So we'll be drawing Moonpaw and Monringkit. Let's get into it. The prologue. It's a Cloudtail POV. Interesting. The elders have definitely been getting some love this arc. He dreams of a cave. It's dark and foreboding, until he sees a glimmer of pulsing light off the walls, a cold glow, just like the moon. You know, it's a bit unfortunate they released the blurb for Guiding Light before this preview. Then I would be curious, rather than already knowing exactly what this is. Chapter 1, Starlingpaw. Oh my god, how did I forget where we left off in Hidden Moon? I would not be surprised if we don't find out Crowfeather's fate until the full book is out, but one can hope. They search for the cat in question, finding him lying by a trickling stream, not moving. The group navigates down a cliff to him, Starlingpaw struggling with his wound from the last book, which is now reopened. But when they reach Crowfeather, not only is he breathing, there's no blood, he didn't break a single bone. What in the plot armor? Or not? Crowfeather doesn't regain consciousness, and that night, Starlingpaw sees a faint glow as he closes his eyes to sleep. Upon reopening them, he sees the shimmering form of Crowfeather floating above his still body. What? Is Starlingpaw seeing his ghost? Then why not just kill him instantly in the fall? Or is Crowfeather trapped between worlds, unable to wake up yet? Will he share with Starlingpaw whatever else Feathertail told him before it's too late? Or can Starlingpaw do something to save him? Now I'm interested. And confused. But sure, let's move on to Tawnypelt. Chapter 2. She's still in ThunderClan. She decides to confront the elders about Moonpaw, not wanting to cast suspicion on the young cat, but needing to do something. I'll admit I teared up a bit when Brackenfur mistook Tawnypelt for her mother Goldenflower. And it was sweet to see it be remembered that Brackenfur mentored Tawnypelt during her ThunderClan days. Unfortunately, this scene kinda turned me against Tawnypelt. She shares her worries of odd things happening around Moonpaw, even worrying it could be similar to the Ashfur situation. When Thornclaw asked why Moonpaw had even been in the Medicine Cat Den, Tawnypelt responded with, "It was decided to separate her from the other apprentices until she started behaving like a normal cat." Yikes. What? Even her attempt to say it a bit nicer wasn't much better. Quote, "until she doesn't have problems anymore." End quote. Okay. I do agree with Tawnypelt's thought of it being wild to be judging Moonpaw's split face to Brightheart of all cats. And I was really glad to see Brightheart and the other elders defend Moonpaw. And Tawnypelt did kind of turn it around in the end, comparing Moonpaw to Shadowsight, saying that they should help Moonpaw, who has all this darkness gathering around her, just like her grandson should have been helped, rather than place her at fault for something that may be out of her control. But overall, this whole chapter just makes me really uncomfortable. Talk of keeping Moonpaw away from Brambleclaw and having Jayfeather ban her from the Medicine Cat Den is crazy. These are the only cats she's really confided in and trusts with what's going on with her. Isolating her from them based on suspicions of what exactly? It's a terrible idea. I get that Tawnypelt wants to protect her brother, but she has no idea what's really going on. I am not excited for Tawnypelt going to talk to Jayfeather about all this. He better be on Moonpaw's side. Chapter 3. Let's find out with Moonpaw. It seems that conversation has already happened. Jayfeather asked Moonpaw to gather herbs with him when she tried to visit Brambleclaw. And while he's as kind about it as he can be, it's painful to see him keeping Moonpaw away from someone who's been of help to her, when she really hasn't done anything wrong. Not to mention him pretty much lying to her instead of just sharing what Tawnypelt told him and talking it through. It's really upsetting. And while I would have liked to see what else Jayfeather had to talk to her about, I understand why she stormed off. And it makes it all too easy for Monringkit to use this as proof that Moonpaw can't trust anyone, can't confide in anyone. Tawnypelt said she wanted to help, but all she's done so far is make Moonpaw even more isolated than she was before. Later, as Moonpaw cleans the Elder's Den, Monringkit tries to convince her to leave the clans. Moonpaw growls back at Monringkit that she's the cause of all her problems. And unfortunately, it's just as Goldenpaw enters the den. As Goldenpaw asks if she's talking to him, I can feel Moonpaw's panic as though it were my own. I really feel for this poor cat. She flees the camp. And as someone who really does empathize with Monringkit, it's still hard to see her torment Moonpaw in this scene. I can only hope that this is the start of Goldenpaw being another cat that Moonpaw can put her trust in. She really needs more cats in her corner. Thanks for watching. This preview was wild. I did quite like it, but it is really hard for me to watch Moonpaw struggle so much. She's drowning in her own head and losing what little support she had. I need Tawnypelt to butt out of this, and for Jayfeather and Moonpaw to sit down and properly talk things out. Oh, and Starlingpaw. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. I do want to see what's going on with him and Crowfeather, but honestly I'm feeling much more urgent about Moonpaw's situation right now. While Tawnypelt's comparison of her to Shadowsight isn't super accurate, I do feel drawn to her character in a similar way. I remember feeling all this worry and protectiveness over him too. And to Frostdawn to an extent, to be honest. I'm really bothered by characters being so deeply misunderstood and distrusted for things that really aren't their fault. Few cats willing to actually help them, instead just doing what they think is best for them, or writing them off entirely. Having to see these characters go through such isolation is difficult, but sometimes necessary for the story. I just wish it would stop happening to all my favorites. And I hope that Moonpaw isn't alone for much longer. Anyways, let me know what you thought of this preview if you've given it a read, and I'll see you next Thursday.